Hello, I'm Mark Maloof, professor in the Department of Computer Science at Georgetown, and today I'm going to talk to you about using a Linux server. So first of all, what is a server? A server is just a computer, and it provides services for clients. And so a client in this case is just a computer, such as a laptop or a mobile device. These are examples of clients. And as a concrete example, when you check your email on your phone or on your laptop, the mail program on your laptop connects to a mail server using the internet, and it's running software on some remote machine. And then when you send an email, the mail program on your laptop takes the email that you've written and it sends it as a message to the mail server, which then sends it on to the recipient. And in fact, many of the applications that you use on your smartphone are based on this so-called client-server architecture. And so what are servers used for? Well, we just talked about email. All email works the way that I described. Your laptop has client software. It connects to an email server that's running on some remote machine. Social media applications. Anytime you post an image on Instagram, your smartphone is talking to a server and sending information to and from that server. If you use a shared calendar, that's an example of a client-server application. Web servers, those are client-server applications. Your web browser is the client, and then it connects to some web server. It sends information to the server, such as a URL or an HTTP request, and then the server responds by sending it a page with the content that you see in your web browser. We also use servers as compute servers, and these are machines that let you compute a lot of stuff. So if you're interested in machine learning and you want to use machine learning with a large data set, your laptop might not be sufficient for computing what you want to compute in a reasonable amount of time. And so we have these large machines that we use for big computational tasks. And then we also use servers for software development, and that's really going to be the focus of what we're going to talk about in this tutorial. So what is Linux? Linux is an operating system. It's analogous to Mac OS if you have a MacBook, or Windows if you have a PC. And an operating system is just software that manages the computer's resources. It lets you execute applications. It lets you manage files on the disk. It's different than application software. A web browser is an example of application software. And application software is built upon the operating system software. And Linux is a very popular operating system for servers. That's what we're going to look at today. And there are desktop versions of Linux that you can use for a machine at home or run on your laptop, and that gives you a mouse-driven graphical user interface like you're used to seeing when you're using your Macintosh or using your Windows machine. And there are some key characteristics of servers. So first of all, they tend to be very large machines. They might have multiple CPUs. They might have terabytes of disk storage. They might have 64 gigabytes of RAM. These servers tend to be large machines with a lot of power. They also tend to be remote. Because these machines are large, they're probably not something you're going to keep in your office or in your bedroom. And they are typically located in a server room. It might be down the hall, it might be all the way across town, or even in a different country. They tend to be rack mounted. So I don't know if you've seen pictures of these racks, and these computers slide in, and so they tend to be narrow and deep. And they're quite large. Again, not something that you would put on your desktop. And they tend to be pretty loud. That's another good reason for keeping them in a remote location. And because these computers are large, they often have special cooling and power requirements. They're really just not made in a home or office environment. They also tend to be headless. And headless means that they don't have a keyboard, they don't have a mouse, they don't have a monitor. So now in the server room, you can typically connect, like if you need to do something directly on the server, you can connect a keyboard, mouse, and monitor if you need to, but typically that's not how we interact with servers. First of all, they're in this server room in a rack, so we really can't just walk in there. And because of the way that we interact with servers, there's really no need for a windowing system or a graphical user interface. However, some servers might support remote desktops depending on, what you're doing. But if you have an email server, if it's just sending email and, sending and receiving email, there's really no person who needs a monitor to watch that happen unless something goes wrong. So how do we connect to and use a server? Again, we could walk into the server room, get a keyboard, mouse, and monitor and connect it to the server we're interested in using, but that happens in a very rare occasion, only when something goes wrong. For the most part, we use our laptop or our desktop to make a remote connection to the server. And once we have made this remote connection, we usually use a command line interface to use the computer. And we'll see how to do that in the upcoming videos. And so because the server is remote, we use a program called Secure Shell, or SSH, to connect to the server. And SSH gives you a secure, encrypted connection between your laptop and the server. And then once you're connected, you can issue commands using Linux commands. You can do software development. You can compile and run programs and do whatever you need to do. And that's what we're going to explore in the next few videos.